Republicans and Democrats have promised us the world. Medicare for all, no child left behind, equity, safer streets, and police reform, an end to the housing crisis, a more peaceful world, and a sound economy. Government is the barrier to all of these things. If you're sick of the lies, fancy slogans, and broken promises, then join us in the Libertarian Party and help bring a real free market to the U.S. and help set every individual free. LP.org. That's LP.org. Hello, and welcome back to the Liberty Blues Network. I'm Sean Osborne, and today on the show we have Steven Borella from Nevada. How's it going?
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's going great.
Yeah, so you're running for Clark County Recorder, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
So what is it that made you want to run for that office in particular?
Well, I will say it started back when I read an article from the Nevada Globe in 2022 when it said that their office was 10 years behind when it came to verifying and indexing records. And essentially, when records aren't going verified, that leaves them up to false liens, where you might even have to pay thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars, sometimes in court fees, just so you prove that that is your property. And essentially, there's also been reports where she just signs off on liens without double checking on it. And her excuse is because state law doesn't require her to check on it. And essentially, I want a recorder that's going to fight for us. And right now we have two Democrats who are running because the incumbent, Debbie Conway, is not rerunning for office. She's been in that office for 19 years. But then we have two opponents on the Democrat side. They've been in the office. They've been in the office for years and in leadership position. And they're trying to use their experience as a justification for you to vote for them. And sure. I just don't believe that's so. When an office that's been this badly mismanaged, especially when one of them is actually suing the office, its experience isn't a good thing, in my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm. What is the job of the recorder? I'm clueless when it comes to that.
Yeah, the job of the recorder is to verify and index records, from property records and family records like marriage licenses. We record it so the records are fully in the public domain. Essentially, we upload it to the public online index where the records are fully public. I have a lot of issues with the public online index. Well, we can always talk about that, but the job specifically is just maintaining the records that are public, from property records, business records, as well as like marriage licenses and family records.
Mm-hmm. And how would you, how would you expedite those things getting done compared to what they've done?
Well, essentially, I come from management. I've managed stores from restaurants to sales teams to solar teams. So essentially, I've dealt with property records, especially when I did solar. So I know how it is to try to get these records done, to make it go fast. Because essentially, the faster it did when I was in solar, the faster I got paid. But we need to set goals. We need to set goals like one-day indexing, because anything that's taking anything longer than a week is just unacceptable. Because essentially, the job is recording the records, doing that right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like it seems like getting it done quickly and efficiently would benefit everybody. I mean, as opposed to letting something sit around for 10 years, that's wild.
Yeah, it's insane, especially when it's getting reported and it's not getting reported mainstream. Like you would hear, like I read it through the Nevada Globe, but they didn't stay on it. I've seen articles from where people's had to fight in court, where they've almost lost their homes because a false lien got put on their property. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, this office, most people don't know about it until it truly affects them. And that's why I really wanted to, as a libertarian, I wanted to run, because I want libertarians to know. I want more people to know, because most libertarians, they're going to run for like assembly district. They're going to run for Congress. They're going to run for state seats. I wanted to run an administration because at the end of the day, this office matters. I want to protect people's property. I want to protect your privacy. And I want to make sure this office is working for you.
That sounds like about the best damn answer I could have expected. Yeah, property rights, because
That sounds wild. I mean, 10 years, that's wild, because I mean, I thought California here, we were inefficient, because, I've been dealing with, my mom passed away and getting the house put in my name. It's taken pretty much 2 years. And, just dealing with, all the, what do you call it? The hoops you got to jump through, and, what all you got to pay to do this and pay to do that, to basically say you own your property is pretty wild to me. But 10 years, man, that's wild.
Yes, 100%. And at the end of the day, like I said, we just need an office that works for us. Like I said, when you have Sky Burris, who's like, I've been in the office for 15 years and 11 in leadership. And then you have Tanya Flanagan, who's actually a state assemblywoman right now, which is why I believe she is the favorite in the primary. That's why you have her saying, I've been in leadership. I'm endorsed by Debbie Conway, the current recorder. And I'm just like, why do y'all see that as a good thing? Especially when the office has just been so inefficient. And neither of them, I will talk about this too. This is one of my main issues. None of them talk about privacy, because the public online index is open. And I'm okay with records being public. I'm 100% okay with that. Mm-hmm. But it's the way that they're searched. Essentially, I can go on the public online index and I can search your name and I can see if there's any property liens been put on your property. I can see where you live. And at the end of the day, if somebody really needs that record and wants to search for that record, they can look it up by the address. They don't need to look it up by your name. At the end of the day, that just leads people to being, victims at the end of the day.
The message sounds like you'd be a little stalker friendly.
Exactly, 100%. Because at the end of the day, you shouldn't be punished and your family shouldn't be jeopardized just because you bought a home. But I will be honest, the recorder cannot change state law. But the thing about Nevada is 73% of its population lives in Clark County. So I know I could get signatures. I can push these politicians because I know a lot of the assemblymen. I've met a lot of them. I've talked to them. Talk to them about the issue of privacy. And I know at the end of the day, if I can get a lot of signatures and I can put pressure on these politicians, we can get stuff done. That's why we need a recorder that's willing to fight.
That's nice. So before we started recording, you said you had talked to some of the opponents. What do they have to say about these kind of issues? Just that their record's going to make things better?
Well, I will say I was actually at this event Friday. It was for the independent Black voters. They did questions in front of everybody. It was a really nice event. Had a great time. I got to go up there and say, I told them I'm running on modernization, I'm running on accessibility, and I'm running on privacy. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it's I got up there, I preached about the privacy. She gets up there and literally admits that, yes, there's been fraud in the office. She admits right there in front of everybody. She did her spiel, admits that there's been fraud, that she's going to fix it. And I just wish I had a chance to ask her, like, how are you going to fix it? How are you going to fix it? You've been in for 15 years and you're saying you haven't fixed it. That's your fault. Mm-hmm. But she got up there. Yeah. Just did a whole spiel. So I had it for 15 years. And she also, this is very telling because yes, the recorder does, when we verify the records of a sale, like a real estate transaction, that's when the real estate agent gets paid. So real estate agents want to get that, those records out fast. And that's basically all she said. She's like, I want to get the records fast so these real estate agents get paid. And I'm looking forward to April 15th so I can check her donations because I'm pretty sure there's probably some real estate groups in there. Right. I was like, I guarantee it. But yeah, Tanya, I haven't met Tanya. I know she's a state assemblywoman. I've seen some of her signs out there. I've seen some of her record in the state assembly. Not a big fan, but I'm a libertarian. She's a Democrat. I doubt I'm gonna be a huge fan.
Yeah.
But and then on Rana Zaid on the Republican side, I've met him. He's a very cool guy. He has some tech experience. I know he went to he graduated, got a degree in tech in Lahore, Pakistan. He's originally from Pakistan. Mm-hmm. Very nice guy. Only talk to him here and there. We know each other kind of through mutual friends that are Republicans. But then there's Bill Young. I'm not too familiar with Bill Young. My friends that I know that are Republicans in the Republican Party, they know of him. They just say he's kind of a runner. He just kind of runs for anything. And so he kind of goes out there, puts his signs up like a week before the election, and that's it. That's all I've heard about him.
So what kind of fraud have they had? Like I said, I'm not like I wouldn't even know where in such a thing like records and stuff like that where there could be fraud. Are they like jacking people's property and stuff like that?
Exactly, 100%. Where they try to actually take people's property using public records. They
Uh-huh.
get the information through public records because it's so easily accessible through the public online index. And they use that to basically do kind of like identity fraud, pretend to be you, take your home. And even sometimes there's been cases where homes almost sold. Like, because they, like the homeowner, they live somewhere else. Las Vegas is a tourist city. Some guys
Yeah.
have, vacation homes here, and essentially, that's basically what happened. And he had to pay a lot of money in court costs just to prove that he was him. And at the end of the day, that's why we need better protection. That's why we need way, way better protection. We need a website that works, but it needs to be limited in how it's searched. But Nevada law right now does require it to have you be searched by your name. And that's just something I don't think they thought about when they enacted the law, because this law has been in there, I believe, I want to say around 10 years, because 20 years ago, these records were sitting in filing cabinets, at the courthouse. And to be honest with you, in a perfect world, I wish they still were. But I know we're in a digital age and we do need more technology, because we have residents that live in Laughlin, they live in Mesquite. They have to travel an hour and a half just to come one way. And then an hour and a half back just to get a record. So I do believe that we should limit how much we put online, but at the end of the day, we should be using resources like email, stuff like that, to where we could actually get it to these residents that are far away. Because at the end of the day, even like the IRS website makes you upload your ID. So, to prove you're you, if you need the record email, you could do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. So like do they, like when you say people are putting liens on there, like you like a tax lien or like a company just randomly, like they see a person's name and it happens to be the same as somebody else's, like it's getting put on the wrong thing, or just straight up somebody trying to get some theft going on?
Yeah, just theft, just
Yeah.
fraudulent. At the end of the day, people are like stuff that you wouldn't expect to be liens. And at the end of the day, the recorder Debbie Conway now, she likes to, she just signs off on it. She doesn't check the lien. She just signs off on it. And like I said, her excuse is state law doesn't require her to. And it's
That's
just
crazy.
yeah, it's insane. But she's representing 2.2 million people. She's dealing with tons and tons of homeowners, definitely probably a million homeowners that she is dealing with. And you're just telling them, oh, I don't have to. I'm going to take this 121,000 year salary and just sign off on whatever I want to because I don't have to. And that's why we need a recorder that's going to fight. And that's why I believe that anybody that's worked under her, from Sky Burris to Tanya Flanagan, they're just, you can't trust it, because at the end of the day, they learned from Debbie Conway. That's who they learned from.
Yeah. If the system's broke, don't use parts of that system to fix it, right?
Yeah, and in Clark County, it's so blue. It's a very blue county. And I do believe that no matter what, even if they ran a great Republican, they wouldn't win. Because actually, I do believe in 2022, I voted for the recorder on the Republican side because I did think he was a great candidate, and I knew the problems with Debbie Conway. Even though I don't think he hit her as hard as I would have in the race, but he definitely should have. But he definitely seemed like a great candidate. But even though you're running a great candidate, some people are just very partisan in this day and age. It's very tribal. But I do believe they would vote for a great libertarian over a bad Democrat. And that's kind of what I'm pushing for, because at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm not telling you to vote Republican. I'm telling you to vote for the best person for the job. Because at the end of the day, I'm not dealing with, even I have to tell Republicans this because I am a libertarian. I'm like, listen, I know we might not agree on immigration. We might not agree on, certain things, but I'm not running to be your congressman. I'm not running to be your state assemblyman. I'm running to protect your records and protect your property.
Yeah, and that person, I don't think there's anybody better than a libertarian to do that.
Exactly.
We are the party that absolutely believes in property rights. Republicans in my home state, Indiana, they love asset forfeiture and all that stuff. Man, Republicans are not as good as they would like people to believe that they are on private property rights and stuff.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, so it's the same way. That's actually what scared me. That's what scared me into libertarianism a little bit, was being from Alabama. Seeing
Yeah.
jail for weed, seeing how like they have state-run liquor stores. This is what really bought, like, because I saw a lot of people in Alabama on my Facebook. They were going after Mom Donnie for his city-run grocery stores, which I'm like, yeah, that should definitely not be a thing. But y'all have state-run liquor stores, and y'all don't say a thing, dude. That's like,
That's wild. I didn't know that. That's wild.
yep, it's the ABC store, Alabama Beverage Control, and yeah, they have their own liquor store. So I'm like, wait a minute, like y'all can't be going after them unless y'all trying to repeal that. I was like, y'all are just as bad. But I was like, I like the sentiment, but
Yeah, man, that's wild. I didn't know that. So that's a trip. What was the reasoning behind that?
to be honest, it's been that way since I was a kid. I left Alabama, let's see, about 7, 8 years ago now. So I've been back to visit, but to be honest with you, I'm not too sure. It probably was when I was a kid. They were probably looking for extra tax money. They probably, they probably had the churches were like, hey, maybe we should, have the state control liquor or something like that.
Uh,
But who knows? Because I know it's not for schools, because I know Alabama schooling gets paid through their property tax, which is why some schools, which, with the public school system's a disaster anyway, but
oh, yeah.
yeah, it's a disaster. But how they did it too was really weird. Just it was based on like oh shoot, did I lose you? Oh, but no, it was based on like basically what your property is, how many homeowners are there. They take it just from that city, and then they push it to the schools. So some schools in the county would be horrible, some schools would be great, and it was really weird. Like you'd be like, oh, they have a lacrosse team. You're like, a lacrosse? Like my school definitely doesn't have a lacrosse team. Like we barely have a football team. Hold on. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, but that's Alabama public schools, and probably public schools almost everywhere, especially in Nevada too, are just horrible. But charter schools, funny enough, not in Alabama, because I really don't know too many charter schools in Alabama, but here in Las Vegas, they're succeeding, doing very well.
I teach music, and I know a lot of the kids here who end up going to charter schools, or they call them magnet schools here too. They tend to do really well, way better than the kids in general that go to just regular public school. Some of the kids that go to public school are fine. The homeschool kids all do great in my music classes and stuff. But yeah, we have the same kind of issue here in Los Angeles with, some of the schools are just horrid. Some of them are great. But Los Angeles's idea is to bus kids from one school to another. It's like, why don't you just fix the other school? Because you're still leaving a bunch of kids behind there, and so I don't get the whole idea of busing and all that stuff. It just seems like you're still leaving kids, in particular the kids who probably need it the most. You're leaving them in the really shitty schools.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, like I remember there was a thing in Alabama called like the No Child Left Behind program, which is actually the reason why I got to go to Gardendale, because our school didn't make the test grade. Like we didn't make a certain grade, so I was able to choose to go to any school in the county. Now, funny enough, we didn't have a lot of money. My mom was a single mom. We didn't have a bunch of money, but she told me, it's like, if you want to go to that school, if you want to go to Gardendale, you're going to have to buy your own car. So I went to a junkyard. I bought this car, $400 piece of crap. I got both mirrors hanging down, the right side dented. Like, luckily Alabama didn't have a smog check. I wouldn't have passed it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have passed it. Yeah. And but I bought that car. I love that car. But funny enough, Gardendale was a pretty well-off school, very nice area. I'd be parking my $400 crap car like right next to like this Hummer, this 1978 Mustang, and you're just like, yeah, like just hiding my face, getting out the car. But it did give me an opportunity to go to a good school, and I did appreciate that, because going from the school I was going to and getting to graduate from Gardendale my senior year, only went there 1 year. It was very nice, and it was really cool to see different ideas and different cultures, and from that perspective, because I've lived in the city, I've lived in the backwoods in Alabama, and then I kind of got to see Gardendale, and it was really interesting. That's why I always say I've always had like kind of a unique perspective, and why I always like succeeded in sales, because I've always worked sales jobs, management jobs, mostly is because of how I've met people from all different type of backgrounds, and
Mhm.
it was very good for my upbringing. I would say that I was very thankful that I was able to go to Gardendale High School just for that reason alone, because it really shaped my perspective.
That's one thing I don't hear a lot of people saying these days, about thankful about things and recognizing what they have in their life and how they can use that. Too many people, use things as excuses for this and that and everything else. But you're like, oh no, I got this chance to go here, my last year of school, and I use that as an advantage, as opposed to dwelling on maybe, what you had at the other school wasn't as good. But you focus on the positive and use that as an asset. And I think
Exactly.
that's a great thing. More people need to learn to be thankful about the things that they do have, and not mourn the things that didn't necessarily go their way.
Oh,
And that's
100%.
yeah, that's good. So what brought you to Nevada?
Well, I will say I play poker for a living. That's my
Oh,
job
okay.
now.
Oh man.
Thank you, thank you. I will say I'm not a rich man. Okay, I've been on TV one time. I do okay though. I do really good. I don't want to get into the exact numbers, but I will say 2024 was amazing. But 2025 was good, but not as good as 2024. But yeah, that's really what happened. I moved out to San Francisco when I was 22. That was 2018. And so I wanted to go out there. I had three things on my bucket list, and I literally accomplished all three, which is crazy. One was move to California. I did that for a couple years. Number two was play poker professionally. I accomplished that a year and a half ago. And then number three was run for office as a libertarian. And but I went out to California. I wanted to get more personal freedom. There's not much personal freedom in Alabama. And I
Hmm.
wanted to go to San Francisco. I wanted to see the complete opposite, because I've always chased different perspectives. I've always wanted to see, what people say about things, like, oh, you'll never make it out there in California. But at the end of the day, I made it. I did 3 years out there. Never slept a day on the streets, and I was very thankful to be out there during the time before COVID, because COVID did ruin it. Oh, it
Yeah,
ruined it. I got
indeed.
Yeah, I got furloughed. I was a manager of a Chipotle actually on O'Farrell Street out there. And I got furloughed. And then I ended up working my first sales job, which was actually a T-Mobile at a mall.
Hmm.
Went there, had a great time, loved doing it. I became a manager there in 3 months, literally was running the store. But something was aching inside of me, because like COVID, I had like my cousin, he passed away. Not from COVID, he had some heart issues. But he ended up passing away at 32. And I
Hmm.
remember thinking, I was talking to my girlfriend, and I was like, I gotta go. I gotta go to Vegas. I've got to go chase my dream. I've always wanted to play poker for a living, and I was like, I gotta go see if I'm able to do that.
Hmm.
And so I moved out. She moved with me, thankfully. We've been together for 5 years. I love her to death. But yeah, we went out there, made a life for ourselves here. I was working, got a job at T-Mobile again, became manager again, was doing that for a while. Ended up going to sell solar. I sold solar, loved that job, made really good money selling solar. And I felt like I was doing good for the community as well, yeah, because essentially NV Energy robs people. At least I was glad I was giving them a different alternative. But then in 2024, I was playing the World Series of Poker. It was event three, $500 kickoff freeze out. I was, I'll go play the $500 event, whatever. I'll go play. And I ended up getting fourth place. I got to be on
Hmm.
TV, got fourth place for $64,000. And I was like, no, what? I think I can do this. So I told the solar job, I was like, hey, listen, I know I have my team running under me, but here's my 2 weeks. I'm going to go chase my dream.
Yeah.
I did that, and I've done poker. It's fun. It's a fun living. I'm not going to lie. Tons of ups and downs. So it's definitely a roller coaster. You never know if it's going to be a great month or a bad month. But I've really enjoyed it so far. But I knew it was time for me to find something new, go into something where leadership is needed, and I've worked leadership positions my whole working career,
Hmm.
and so at the end of the day, I was like, it's time to run for office.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good story. I like that, man. I love it. People go out there. One of the philosophies I've been reading some Stoic philosophy, and they said people who don't take risks aren't really living. So you definitely you're living. You went out there and did it and gave it a whirl, and it seems to be working. That's cool.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah. So how did I guess were you influenced by libertarianism pretty young, or like how did you end up finding the libertarian philosophy?
I would say it was actually 2016 during the it was the GOP primary. I was watching it. I wasn't a big Trump guy. So I was looking for somebody that that I could resonate with, and I found Rand Paul.
Yeah.
Rand Paul, okay. I started looking into him. I was like, well, this guy makes a lot of sense. But then the deeper I did more research, I was like, oh, who's Ron Paul? I was like, oh, okay. Then I found Ron Paul, and I'm like, oh, dang, he's even better. I was like, dang.
Yeah, he sure is.
And so I started learning more and more about libertarianism. I read some Rothbard. I wanted to learn more about some Austrian economics, as well as I saw that they embrace personal freedom. And at a very young age, I've never liked being told what to do, except for by my mama, because
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
my mama didn't play, except for my mama. But anybody else, I hated being told what to do. That's why I was able to move up to management so fast, because they know I don't like being told what to do. I like to lead. I don't want to be, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. I was born with two fingers on my right hand. There were so many times people are like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I'm like, no, why? Like, why can't I? So I love that aspect of libertarianism where I was like, we're the rebels. We're the true rebels. And that's why I feel like Las Vegas and Clark County is perfect for it. I mean, heck, we're the UNLV rebels out here,
Yeah, yeah.
It's in our culture. It's in our DNA. That's why I love Las Vegas so much, because you can't tell me what to do. I don't even drink alcohol, but I love the fact that if I wanted to, I could be on the sidewalk chugging a bottle if I wanted to. I'm not going to. I don't drink, but I love the fact that I could. I love the fact that even like not in Clark County, obviously, but 40 minutes away. Obviously, I have a girlfriend, been with her for 5 years. I wouldn't do it, but I love the fact that you can go. Like a woman can sell her body if she wants to, because that's her body. Or if a man wants to sell his body, he can do that because that's his body. I love just the fact that you own yourself, you own your labor, you own your time. That is all yours, and that's what really drove me to libertarianism, and made me really hate both parties. Yeah, because how much of the same they are. Like, I would prefer the Green Party over the Democrats, if I'm being honest with you. If we could take over the Republicans and they could take over the Democrats, I feel like our country would be way better off.
Yeah. As long as we win the argument on economics.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, you're definitely not wrong. That's why we'd have to have the majority.
Yeah. Because the Green Party, got to give it to them. They're good on anti-war stuff. They're on the right side when it comes to us bombing the hell out of people all over the world.
100%. And cronyism. They're good on cronyism.
Yeah.
But they still want to tax you to death,
Oh man, unfortunately that's their answer to everything, man.
Yeah.
One of the original podcasts on this network was a progressive and a libertarian walking to a bar. My friend and I would just get drunk and talk politics and make fun of each other's ideas a lot, and everything. And I've always said progressives see a lot of the right problems. They just have the exact wrong answer to it. More government.
Like, it's going to be more government. Like, I was talking to somebody the other day, because they asked me kind of like, what is libertarianism? And I was, I gave them the rundown, kind of like what we just talked about. But I also said, it's like, we recognize that, because it was like, you realize that y'all don't like Trump. I was like, they're, she was very progressive. It's like, y'all don't like Trump, right? But I was like, but you're willing to grow the government and give the government more power. So say somebody again that comes in that you don't like, now they have more power to do things that you don't like.
Right.
I was like, because at the end of the day, y'all weren't crying about funding DHS back in 2003. Y'all were, you know what I mean? Y'all were not. Libertarians were, because you're like, oh, you're stealing more of our money. This is going to come back and backfire on us. And look at it. It's came back and backfired on us. And that's why I try to get liberals to understand, because I'm like, at the end of the day, we agree on a lot. Like, you want personal freedom. I want personal freedom. But we have to realize the more we grow the government, the less freedom we get, because the more powerful they become, the less powerful we become.
It's great. I like to read philosophy, and there's a comment from Lao Tzu from ancient China, and even back then he had this statement. He said that the more there is power with government, the less you have freedom. And I was like, damn. I said, man, he was onto it way back then, man. I said, man, that's great, and that's just the truth. I think government and the power that it wields, depending on who is in power. Progressives want to use it to push their values, and conservatives want to push their values and stuff like that. And it causes that culture war because, most people don't want to be told what to do, especially by somebody they don't like, And I think if we all learn to live and let live, and let somebody, live in a way that we don't agree with, so long as they're not harming us or our family or our finances, then that's their ability. Like you were even talking about prostitution. Like I agree, prostitution should absolutely be legal. I don't think one thing I think, because it gets used against the Libertarian Party, like, oh, you're the prostitution party or you're the weed party. I mean, I smoke more weed than 9 people, but I don't believe the party needs to be the pro-weed party. I think it needs to be the anti-government telling me I can't smoke weed party. I don't think the party necessarily needs to fly everybody's freak flag or what they like the best or what they want to do. It's just government doesn't have the right to tell you what to do. I like the phrase that when your neighbor's vote can change the way you live your life, government's entirely too big.
That's right. You're 100% right. Yeah. And yeah, exactly. We don't want to be the pro weed party. We want to be the pro freedom party. Mm-hmm. Just because at the end of the day, I'm a very religious man. That's why I tell conservatives too. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. I grew up in a Pentecostal church. I'm a very religious man. One of the reasons why I don't drink. But at the end of the day, I don't want to force that on you. That's your own choice. God gave us free will. That's one of our God-given rights, to make our own choices and to make our own journey. At the end of the day, it's not my job to impact your journey. Whatever journey that somebody is going on, that's their journey. Mary Magdalene had a story. And that's why I try to tell them, at the end of the day, that doesn't, just because her past doesn't justify anything. It's just the fact that who she became, it was part of her journey. And so I believe everybody has a journey and everybody has to do things. And at the end of the day, you shouldn't be punished for going on that journey. I will say this too, I grew up by a single mother. My dad, he was always in and out of prison, but he never did a violent crime. It was always nonviolent drug offenses. Now, he got caught with a lot of drugs. I'm not gonna play it off like it was just some personal use thing, but he got caught with a lot of drugs. And he passed away just this last Christmas. But he wasn't in prison when he died. He had cancer. But I've maybe met him 7 times in my whole life. And I was actually debating these Republicans. You might even know Marty O'Donnell. He did the music for Halo.
No, I don't.
Oh, yeah. He did the music for Halo and the music for Destiny. And he was at this college debate. And he was, what was it? He was talking about, we were debating the, oh my God. I was about to say it too. And it literally just went off my brain after asking about Halo. My brain, I was like, wait a minute. But no, I will say we were having that discussion. Oh, he said he wanted we need fathers in the homes. And then I raised my hand and I was like, then why are we you're getting rid of fathers in the homes? Because you're locking them up for hurting nobody other than themselves.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And it's yes, we do need more fathers in the homes, 100%. But at the end of the day, you can't say that and be for laws that are taking fathers out of the homes. Because I was like, I'm a living example of that. I didn't have my dad in my life because the government took him away.
Yeah, I like to point out that the war on drugs has ruined more lives than drugs.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
100%. And at the end of the day, you always wonder too, because most of the time prison doesn't help people, especially the nonviolent drug offenders. So you always wonder, if he was given a second chance, that first time around, instead of going to prison the first time, because Alabama's so hard on drug offenses, if he would have if he would have cleaned up his act, or you always wonder that, because at the end of the day, you see people all the time who's like, oh, I used to be a drug addict for 20 years. And then, they're a great person now. Heck, we even have a Democrat running here in Nevada, Ryan Hampton. He's like, yeah, I used to be a drug addict, and look at him today. He's a very successful man. And so you always wonder about like, what if,
Yeah, wisdom comes from making mistakes. You can't be wise if you got people telling you how to live your life. You can't make your own decisions and learn from your mistakes. There's no way to gain wisdom. And I used to drink like a fish. I still have a drink here and there, but I drank entirely too much when I was younger, and I learned this doesn't really work for me, And I came to that conclusion on my own. Obviously, some people have a harder problem with that, and when you crack down on people because they're having a hard time, it doesn't make their life any easier. It doesn't make it easier for them to get help or anything else. I'm lucky that I didn't have a problem getting my life under control, but some people do. And if you're constantly throwing them in jail, that doesn't help. Like my stepdad, like your dad, went to jail, and it didn't treat him well. And when he got out, he died within a year and a half, I think it was. And because he came out far worse shape than he went in, just mentally, it messed him up, so yeah, prison's an awful thing. And all this, they might have some kind of nice idea of what they think is going to happen by putting people in prison or stuff like that. Somehow they're going to help people, but it really just doesn't. I had a man on the podcast. He's a prosecutor, and he's been on here a couple times, and we bump heads on that issue because his sister died of an OD and everything. So he's very anti-drug, and so he really feels the need that conservatives need to push that. Oh, we need to fight drugs. It hasn't helped at all. Hasn't helped in the slightest bit.
Always go back to prohibition when we talk about stuff like that. How did prohibition work? It just made it worse. You were getting more dangerous alcohol because people still wanted it. You're never going to stop people from getting what they want. There's always going to be a market for it. Yeah,
and let's face it, you don't have liquor store owners putting fentanyl in their whiskey, right?
Exactly.
It's non-existent. You don't have liquor store owners shooting each other on the corner for dominance of the corner. It doesn't happen. Just doesn't happen.
Exactly. No, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. My progressive friend, he'd be like, "Oh, but you want 10-year-old kids selling heroin on the streets?" I go, "There's not 10-year-old kids selling vodka on the streets either." Right?
That's right.
Because there's places to buy it.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous arguments from conservatives and progressives on why government's the answer.
Oh, I agree with you. Actually, speaking of ridiculous arguments, the Marty O'Donnell, back to the UNLV debate, he was talking about how he wanted to end birthright citizenship. And so I was just like, well, either you're for the Constitution or you're not. But he's like, they didn't know. His exact argument was they didn't know we were going to have like planes and jets when they wrote the 14th Amendment. And I was just like, dude, that's such a liberal argument that you're making right now. That sounds exactly what liberals say about guns right now. And the whole room just busted out laughing. And this is a room full of Republicans. They invited us because they couldn't get the Democrats. And so they invited us for the debates.
Oh, man, that's good.
But yeah, I was just like, that's such a liberal argument, man. That's like, do you even hear yourself right now? That's what they say about AR-15s right now. That's what liberals are saying.
Yeah.
They didn't know, even though they had muskets that would blow your leg off. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I love that because, sometimes when debating people, I realize that Democrats and Republicans they're so used to fighting with each other and arguing with each other, they really don't know how to handle a libertarian. That's why it's so fun when you can get a libertarian in a debate because you can hit the Republicans from the right and you can hit the Democrats from the left on some things, and they just never see it coming. Literally, It's fun. Oh man, I have a field day with that stuff.
I loved it. I'm glad they invited me. I was very thankful that they did. It's actually, I believe, still on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It was very much fun. I've talked to them. Like the Young Americans for Liberty of Nevada was there. It was the young college group. And yeah, It was really good. There was only me and one other libertarian showed up. He's the Clark County chair, Ty. He ended up showing up, and it was a great time. But there was like 7, 8 Republicans, and just me and him as the lone libertarians. I think we had one independent there too, but that was about it.
Uh-huh.
But it was great. I got to talk. I even, even after I called him a liberal, and I was just like, he tried to defend the bombings in Iran. So I was like, oh, now you like killing children now. This is great. I was like, it's like, you really love government, man. But it really hurt me too, because I like Marty O'Donnell because, dude, I played his games. I played Halo. I played Destiny. I thought it was great. I was meeting him. I was like, oh man, I like this guy. And he was making so much sense in the first half when he was talking economics. I was like, I agree with this guy. He's talking great. Low taxes. I'm with you. I'm with you, Marty. And then he started talking about ending birthright citizenship. I was like, wait, hold up. What are we doing here? I was like, no, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
But I do love those debates. We even did one where it was like a Google Meet debate. The same group was the Gen Z Las Vegas. And we even did that. I didn't see him there, but we had a lot more libertarians there. We had like 4 libertarians across the aisle one.
Yeah, that's good stuff. How is the Libertarian Party doing there in Clark County? You guys have quite a few candidates?
We'll say, yeah, we do have a lot of candidates. We have a lot of candidates, but I will be honest, some of them are just, there to help us keep ballot access. Mm-hmm. But we do have a lot of strong candidates like Ty Galvin. He's running for Assembly District 21. We have Gage Beck. He's running for Assembly District 13. We have Zachariah. He's running for Zachariah Lassalt. He's running for Assembly District 19. We have me running for County Recorder. Our state chair is actually, I believe he's running for County Assessor, but I will be honest, he's more there to keep us ballot access. But yeah, it's really strong. We've maintained ballot access for a long time. I remember even before I got affiliated with the Clark County Libertarians and became the at-large rep, before I even knew we had meetups or anything like that, I was so excited when I moved here and I got to register as a Libertarian. I was like, that is amazing. I saw it right there. They give you a sheet of paper. There's like 4 parties. You got Republican, Democrat, the Independent American Party, which is just the constitutional party. And then I saw Libertarian and I was like, oh my God, I marked it. I threw it in. I was so excited. But then becoming affiliated with them, it's a fun group. We're a fun group of people, very principled. Sometimes we get in our little shouting matches, libertarians, sometimes we disagree. But it's really a really good group of people, very strong in our beliefs. I just wish that the one thing I do wish, because sometimes I see groups like DSA, right? Because even I'll go do mutual aid with DSA. I'll go help pass out food and clothes to the homeless.
With DSA? The
Democratic Socialists of America.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And you know what? They truly are socialists. I've tried to talk to them. I thought they were going to try to hit me like Norway, and they're like, nah, they're not far enough. And I'm like, that's crazy. I'm like, that is crazy. But they really are good people. They do like to do mutual aid, like help pass out food and clothes to the homeless. But I wish the Libertarians would do that. Mm-hmm. Like where we would do events like that, like social gatherings, stuff like that. We do meetups every 2 weeks. We meet at like a bar or a restaurant, and it's always a fun group of people that shows up. Even people sometimes who aren't libertarians, but they're coming to see what we're about, meet the candidates. Mm-hmm. But I do wish that sometimes when I see groups like DSA do their stuff and how they're reaching the youth and stuff like that, I just wish we would do more of that a little bit.
Yeah, I would agree. I think libertarians could definitely be better about these kind of things. It's kind of, I guess with libertarians, it's kind of like herding cats, getting us all to do something, at the same time. As individualists, a lot of times we try to do our own thing and stuff like that. Like here, what I try to do on the podcast, I like to have people on who are libertarians. Like there's a guy here who does he is a nonprofit and he helps people get food and different things. Like he can help them get their medication and stuff, all non-government ways to help people out, maybe get rent money or something if they need it, and those kind of things. So that's my way of trying to help out is, get these nonprofits who don't take government money and stuff like that, maybe get money from corporations to help out, do it. these kind of things, and we promote these kind of issues. Or, as the former national chair did, Angela did, where we have single issue coalitions where we work together with people from other parties. And that way, some libertarians can get out there and talk to people who might not think libertarians are going to be helpful in those situations, get out there and show that we are, and, plant some seeds of liberty in some of these socialist minds and see if they can, because some of the better libertarians like Dave Smith and Gene Epstein and the people like that, myself included, I came to libertarianism from the left. I totally disassociate myself with the left a lot now because of some of that crazy shit that they do these days. But I mean, we came to libertarianism from the left. Not everybody was a conservative who just got sick of war and stuff, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, even me, I'd like to think that, because I used to think I was a Democrat for a long time in Alabama because of Alabama Republicans, though.
Right.
Yeah. I was like, dude, I must be a Democrat then, right?
I think that's the truth. I think a lot of people end up thinking they're the other because they just don't like the other one, and they end up not voting for something. They're voting against the other party a lot of times. Just vote for liberty,
That's right. I even tried to connect with DSA. I was even told them, because they're very big on their anti-ICE push right now, right? And I was like, so are libertarians. At the end of the day, our national party came out and said we want to abolish ICE, which, heck, I want to abolish all DHS, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah. But I'm like, yeah, 100% down to abolish ICE. But that's when I reached out to the DSA because I got some of their numbers, from me volunteering with them and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I keep in contact with them. I told them, I was like, hey, y'all should come out to our events. Y'all should, try to come to our meetup, meet the candidates that are running for assembly district, because right now they have 2 endorsed DSA candidates running on the Democrat side. And I was like, and we got, actually, I think we got more now. I think we got about four libertarians running for assembly district right now, maybe even more. At least I know in Clark County, I believe it's like 4 or 5. And essentially, I'm like, you should come out and meet them, because at the end of the day, we're going to be the only anti-ICE ticket in this whole place. Because I want to get some DSA support. We're going to need to take some of the Democrats for us to win this race. Mm-hmm. So, but I was like, yo, you should come out. I want you to come out, and you don't have to endorse us, but just seeing y'all there with us, like your candidates with our candidates, getting behind the anti-ICE message, that would be powerful. Mm-hmm. But sadly, a lot of people still have misconceptions of the Libertarian Party.
Absolutely, yeah, it's crazy.
And it's like, you've met me, I'm a libertarian. Y'all like me. We hang out all the time. Like, well, when you come to our meetup,
Yeah, one of my friends, we've been friends for close to 30 years, and he still thinks libertarians just love corporations and that we're racist and everything else. I'm like, man, you know me. I mean, I said, I know all the big libertarians in the movement. I said, number one, we get no corporate money. So how are we if we're so pro corporations, why aren't these corporations just pouring money into our party? He's like, well, you guys aren't anti-war. I go, that you obviously have not read anything libertarian. If you think, yeah, this guy told me straight up, he goes, oh, you're just anti-war recently. I said, man, I've known you since you were 17 years old. And, you've never seen me be pro-war about anything, nothing, and still he can't wrap his mind around the fact that I'm anti-war. And I've always been anti-war, it's just, unless we're literally attacked for some, and not 9/11, because I wasn't in favor of the wars that came after that either. Because I think we, like Ron Paul said, that was blowback for what we already did, so it's amazing the misinformation people get out there about what libertarians are really about. It's wacky.
Oh, 100%. It's really, there's tons of misconceptions where they just think we're just conservatives. And I keep saying, like, what conservative do you know that fights for gay rights? What conservative do you know that fights for even trans rights? And at the end of the day, it's like, I like to say we were progressives before progressives. Mm-hmm. That's what I used to say, even though nowadays we're not anywhere near the progressives nowadays, but we were the first ones. We were the first ones to support gay marriage back when they used to call it a mental disorder, and we were
Yeah.
like, no, we want it legalized in 1971.
Mhm. Yeah, we're not what they think. It's wild.
Yeah, and it's a lot of people are like, oh, a lot of y'all probably, like a lot of y'all vote Republican, but I'm like, yeah, it's because the Democrats went kind of crazy on us there for a while, but now the Republicans are going crazy on us right now. So I'm like, hey, I was like,
They're spending like Democrats.
both of them are, yeah, they're just spending like crazy. They're spending like crazy. But at the end of the day, I tell them, I'm like, I just want people to be free, no matter what race you are, no matter what you identify as, even though I do believe like if you identify as something, nobody has to respect that. But, you have the right to tell people that's how you want to be, and you have that right to be that, to at least feel that. And at the end of the day, it's like, I want people to be free, no matter if that's dealing with your records as a recorder, or if that's, you living your life, you're not hurting nobody, you're not stealing from anybody, you're not, just do your thing. I don't want to affect your life. I don't want to affect your decisions. I just want you to be free. And that's it.
Yeah, and I guess that's one thing as a libertarian. I'd say that maybe it's the hardest thing for some people. The final line to cross as a libertarian, to be a good libertarian, is to be able to look at somebody else that you absolutely disagree with the way they live their life, from top to bottom, and say they have that right to do it. You have to allow somebody the right, and if you think they're failing, allow them the right to fail and come to their own conclusions and live their life. It's their life to live. It's not ours. It's sure as shit not the government's.
That's right. Exactly. And that's my biggest issue too right now, even kind of going back to the records. My biggest issue too is like, say if you are a domestic violence victim, you can work your way into getting your information off the online index, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to go to the Secretary of State's office and explain what happened to you. You have to relive that experience. When at the end of the day, it's none of the government's business. It shouldn't be the government's business that your information's online and you don't want it there.
Yeah.
And that's what bothers me. But judges and police officers, they don't have to explain to nobody. Their records just aren't online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They get qualified immunity.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they do. That they do.
Shit. They can do whatever they want and run amok, and it's all good with the government.
That's right. And and then they get the protections of having their information not online. And that's what bothers me, because it's like, at the end of the day, the government shouldn't have special privileges that you don't. At the end of the day, they should not. Maybe like, it's just they shouldn't. Anything that the government has, you should have. Because at the end of the day, it's not fair at that point. Because if they have it and you don't, then we're at a disadvantage. Even though technically we have more people, but they forget that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Like you were even talking about, like, say if somebody in Vegas, you can drink on the streets. That should be legal. But the same thing, if you get intoxicated and do something crazy and start a fight, you're held responsible for that. Responsibility is up to the individual. And unfortunately, with government absorbs that responsibility, doesn't make people responsible for their own actions when they do fail, when they don't do their records and let them be 10 years behind and such. There's no repercussions with government because they have a monopoly on the force behind everything. So that it's hard to hold government accountable when they jack things up.
Oh yeah, 100%. And that's the thing is, they have way too much protections, and they even protect who helps them out. Like I was explaining, like a lot of like you said, your friend says we just love corporations, but I'm like, what libertarians ever argued for tort reform? Oh no, that's Republicans and Democrats that argue for tort reform. Mm-hmm. No, we're saying if you hurt somebody, you get sued, and you get sued for as much as the jury says. But government's like, no, they donated to my campaign, so like, let's just make it $1 million is all they get. Yeah. No, even though the jury rewarded $3 billion, but they only can get $1 million. We broke the law. Like when the Ford Pintos blew up, if you ended the Ford Pinto, it even came out that they knew that would happen, but they're like, oh, it's cheaper to pay off the families than it is to go fix the car. Like what? And the next day after they lost that lawsuit, they're like, "Oh, we got to pass a law, so we limit how much they can get."
Yeah, yeah. That, I mean, that's what the limited liability means. They follow these government rules that they call regulations, and those are nothing but loopholes for them to not be responsible when shit hits the fan.
That's right, and to deter competition because of how
Yeah.
complicated the regulations are. It's insanity, and that's what I talk to people, and I really try to get them to understand. Because even my girlfriend, ain't gonna lie, she's a lefty. I love her to death, though. She's amazing, but she is a liberal. I love her, but I try to get her to understand that. I'm like, don't you see, like, the more the government grows, the more they're going to look out for their donors. And at the end of the day, libertarians and even other third parties at the very least, which I wish she would say she's a Green Party at the very least, but I'm like, at the very least they're not corrupted. At least they're actually telling you exactly how they feel. That's why I don't get mad when I disagree with libertarians. Some, like I've heard libertarians say sometimes we need a smaller tent. I'm like, well, I feel like we do need to grow more. We need to grow more before we try to throw more ideology in there, because at the end of the day, everybody on this planet, no matter where you're from, has had a libertarian thought come through their head at some point in their life. Like, why do I have to do this? Well, why do I have to do this? Even libertarians, a lot of the time, my one non-libertarian take is I don't believe in an income tax, which all libertarians agree with. I don't believe in a property tax, all libertarians agree with. But I do kind of believe in a consumption tax to run minimal government. Like, because I'm a minarchist, I'm not an anarchist, I'm a minarchist. So I do believe a consumption tax because it's paid right there in person. You can't write off anything. So nobody's getting special privileges that nobody else is getting. And it's paid at the point of service. And I'm not saying a big one. I don't believe in big government. I want a tiny, like this small government. And at the end of the day, I believe consumption tax, there's no coercion with it because you can always shop on the private market if you wanted to, like Facebook Marketplace, something like that, where you don't have to pay the tax. And that's the only reason why I do believe in a consumption tax. But I get in arguments with it about my anarchist friends. They're like, "Oh," he's like, "that's your one non-libertarian take," and I'm like, "I guess, but I guess we all have one."
Yeah, I would say I consider myself more of an anarchist, but I mean, I could live with a consumption tax as long as they're being efficient with it, and doing things. I could live with that, and I think probably most libertarians are minarchists overall. I mean, a lot of them are constitutionalists, so I mean, they follow that. Even somebody like Dave Smith, I mean, he said, he would be happy if we just followed the Constitution. If we got back to that, that would be such an improvement to everything else. And I don't have that Rothbard button to push just to make government go away and have things, fall where they might. We have to deal with reality. And, that's one of the things I like about what Angela did as national chair is she worked with those single issue coalitions and actually had libertarians out there talking to other people, working with other people, and working as individuals and as a block as well to help move things towards freedom. We're individuals. We're not all going to agree on everything. I think we got to stop tearing each other apart for having oh man, I can't believe you like, that tax. That's crazy, and shunning people for having a slightly different opinion. Now, I will say people who think we should be bombing Iran and Venezuela and stuff, I'll take a harder stance with them.
Hey, I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
I'll take a little harder stance on that. But I mean, well, another thing, people say about libertarians is like, oh, if we didn't have all these regulations, we'd be breathing terrible air and stuff. I said, I breathe the same air as you. I'm sorry, but I think our policies on energy and stuff would be far better than, a carbon tax.
Oh, 100%.
Carbon tax is not going to help shit.
Oh no, it's just going to make it harder for other businesses to try to come in to compete. That's exactly what it would be. But at the end of the day, like, if you held companies responsible and don't do tort reform and just allow lawsuits to do their job, it wouldn't even matter. Like, carbon tax wouldn't matter. But the problem the government has with that is, they're not seeing the lawsuit money, but they get to see the carbon tax money.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. That's the issue they have with it. They don't care about responsibility or who the money's going to. They just want the money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, the parasitic nature of government.
100%. Yeah, it is a leech. It just keeps wanting more and more, and we see it now too. And like I remember, I got into a little debate with one of my Republican friends, and she's a nice woman, great woman. But I remember she's like, I went after Trump on the tax cuts, not because he cut taxes. I went after him because he only cut taxes for the top 1%. The bottom 10%, the bottom percentage, taxes went up just to cover that. So I went after her a little bit on it. I was like, yeah, listen, like I want to cut taxes, but if we're going to be cutting taxes, we need to be cutting taxes for everybody. Don't raise my taxes and lower their taxes just to make up the difference. I was like, because I don't care if we're cutting taxes for the rich. I'm down to cut taxes for everybody, but just don't raise my taxes to make up for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, on the point of, like you were saying, your girlfriend's a lefty or a liberal, the idea that a liberal can't be libertarian is wrong as well. Because I know some people, I mean, now if they're still wanting the government, I to do things, I disagree with that. But, somebody who wants to live their life as a liberal and, those liberal values and stuff like that, I totally support that. Just don't use government to control my life. I wish more liberals understood that. And to make your point, what you said earlier about, you don't want the next guy who you don't like to have that power. I joked with my friend before Trump got elected, my progressive friend who did the podcast with me. I said, one of these days, because Obama got elected saying he was going to undo what Bush did with the surveillance state and all that stuff. And all he did was step on the gas, right? He spied more on the American people. And I said, instead of getting rid of that power, he kept it for himself and passed it on to the next guy who happened to be Trump. And I told him at the time, I was like, you're going to be upset when next time you get a Reagan in, because he really didn't like Reagan. I said, you're not going to like it when you get another Reagan in office with these powers. And then when Trump got elected, I brought that up to him. I said, now you got a Trump. How do you feel about all those powers that Obama kept for himself? And it blew his mind. He stuttered and stammered around, and that didn't have a real good answer to. Well, we got to get rid of Trump. We got to make sure we have good people in there. Then said, well, good people is relative to what you believe in. Just because you believe it's good doesn't mean everybody's going to believe that and want you to ram that down their throat. And, that I think that's the main thing about libertarianism. Just we're not trying to jam our lifestyle or somebody's lifestyle or some group's lifestyle or some mentality down your throat. Same thing. We're not trying to jam weed or prostitution down your throat. We just say the government doesn't have the right to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, it just shouldn't tell you what to do, and that's it. It's the end. But yeah, that's why I wish Republicans and Democrats would understand, because even like Trump's executive orders that he's just blasting through, they're cheering it on, and I'm like, but y'all were so mad when Obama was doing this.
Yeah.
But also, and I've been mad the whole time. I'm mad on both sides. I'm like, yeah. It's like, y'all give me high blood pressure. I turned 30 in April 6th. I'm like, y'all give me high blood pressure.
Yeah.
But I just wish they would understand that. And the problem both parties have is that they can't imagine themselves in other people's shoes.
Yeah, right.
They only imagine it through their mindset. And one of the great things from being in sales and growing up the way I did, I was always able to be like, what if that was me? What would I want to do? And, what would I want to have done for me? And at the end of the day, that's how I've lived my life. That's why I go volunteer, at the Salvation Armies. That's why, I help anytime I can. Because at the end of the day, I think about, what if that was me? I'd want somebody to help me. That's why I'm the guy, if I see you broken down on the side of the road, I'm like, let me pull over. Because I'd be like, what if that was me? But I never think about the government, if that was me, I'd want the government to do something. I'm like, no, I'd want somebody to help me. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they just can't imagine it. They never can. They just have the inability to, because they're just so wrapped up into their own ideology.
Yeah, government really has people brainwashed that government's the solution to everything. People have gotten so used to government being the so-called answer as opposed to a community. You know, there's just not, I don't know, maybe it's just here in California, there's not a lot of community. There's neighborhoods, but even within the neighborhoods, I really don't feel a sense of community amongst a lot of people. You know, there's not a lot of people here and there helping each other. That's not to say that we don't have a lot of food banks and stuff, because I know when there was a lot of shortages, people were throwing a fit and this and that and saying, oh, Trump's causing this and that. I said, there's a lot of food banks here, and they got a lot of donations. Like even after the fires here, they got so many donations from people from the private sector that they had to ask people to stop sending them stuff. They didn't need the government to help. They just need the government to get out of their way and stop them from rebuilding on their property. The government's the barrier, not the people. Elon Musk being rich isn't stopping any of us from living our life the way that we want and all this other stuff that liberals like to think. It's wild out there today.
Even though I will say this, I do call Elon Musk a welfare queen. I do.
Yeah.
I do. But I will say this, the reason why I love charity so much too, and because I've never had to rely on the government for help, because thankfully, like even when I had surgery on my hand, the Shriners did the surgery completely free. I was a Shriners kid. And that's one thing when we said at the beginning about being grateful, that's where I really did learn to be grateful, because anytime I had to go to the Zamora Temple down in Birmingham, that's where we'd have like Christmas parties for Shriners kids and Halloween parties for us Shriners kids. And you get to see like all these other kids and like, in way worse situations than I'm in. And I remember just thinking like, dang, I'm very grateful to be, like for what I'm given, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like, yeah, I might not have been born with a too perfect set of hands, but it could have been worse. At the end of the day, and it could have 100% been worse. But that's where I get my love for charity, just from being that kid from a single mom who had me when she was 2 months out of being 18. And, I think about that. And I'm just always grateful for the opportunities that were given to me, because at the end of the day, they didn't have to be. And it wasn't by the government. It was by private people helping because they really wanted to help a kid.
Yep. Yeah. That's it. And same thing, me as being blind, I could sit around and be bitter and sad about it, all the things that I can't do. I can't drive myself here and this and that, but I'm thankful, I use that obstacle to help me be stronger and be better, and to show people who have similar disabilities or a different disability that you can succeed. You can find your place in life, and you don't need government to be a crutch. You can, your family, or if you don't have a good family, you can have friends or a community that can be there. And, and if you don't see that, you can stand up and be that pillar in your community that stands up and helps people, like yourself, or like somebody else with another issue, or, some sort of disability, or some kind of issue or something that, somebody else might let ruin their life. You can show them that it doesn't have to do that. Even I worked at a senior center, and, that was one of the things that the guy who hired me said he thinks it's great that I'm blind, because, some other people, as they get older, they think, not being able to see and this and that is somehow stopping them. And it shows them, no, I come into work, I show up on time, I have fun at work, and, all this different stuff. So it's nice to be able to be that person that shows the positive aspects of life. And, you can live a positive life without government.
That's right. I always say life's what you make it. The reason I told people, like I told you, I accomplished all 3 of my goals. I finally did the last one. I'm running as a libertarian. And at the end of the day, you can do anything you want. I moved out to California with $800 in my pocket, never slept a day on the street, because I worked 2 jobs. I lived in a hostel for 3 months, which was the best 3 months of my life. It really was. I lived in Amsterdam hostel on Taylor Street for 3 months before I found me a permanent place. But I was working 2 jobs, taking the bus, running. Literally, I ran from one job to another sometimes just because I couldn't afford the bus yet. I was like, let me run. And but I lived there, and I always tell people, if you want something bad enough and you want to do something bad enough, you're going to do it. You're going to find a way to do it, and you're going to do whatever it takes. And I just wish more people had that drive, because, heck, I've seen my mama work 14-hour days to keep a roof over her head,
And you feel that pride too of what you've done. You know, you
Yeah,
feel proud that you did that. Because I know a lot of my social friends, oh, you want to be a wage slave? I said, no, I enjoy my job. You
that's
know,
right.
I work hard to be able to do what I do. And just like your mom, my mom worked two jobs a lot of times too. I mean, sometimes she worked three. You know, she was a travel agent, works for Princess Cruise Line and American Airlines all at the same time. You know, uh, just to be able to survive after my stepdad died. You know, so I mean, she did a lot. You know, and she wasn't getting help from the government. She worked hard, and you know, it paid off ultimately. I think. You know.
That's right. It did, man. It did, man.
And she found a job that we got benefits with it. You know, we got to travel for cheaper, which was really nice. You know, so you know, people often look at themselves through these goggles as a victim. You know, this and that because of their circumstances. And if you look at yourself as a victim, you're going to be a victim your whole life. You know, but if you look at it as an obstacle for you to overcome, you'll be successful more than likely. I mean, you might fail a few times on the way, but you'll never feel like a victim.
That's right. And yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That most people just always want to come up with excuses why they can't do this and why they can't do that. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, look at me. Like I moved to over 2,000 miles across the country. I worked multiple jobs because I told myself I want to live in California and I'm going to do what it takes to live in California. And I did. And then once I got my management job, I was able to quit the other job, thankfully. But yeah, and you know, it's just how bad do you want it? And I seen my mom fight, working 14-hour days. I remember, hey, like you said, you know, like your mom was working 3 jobs. That's crazy. But you got to do what you got to do. I remember waking my brother up for school, you know, for us to go take the bus, and she'd be asleep right there on the kitchen table, just with food right next to her and everything. And you know, you didn't want to wake her up because you know she probably just got home a few hours ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, so you just have to try and do exactly what you if you say you can do it and you believe you can do it, you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I always tell people. I even told the union they were interviewing me for a possible endorsement. I don't think I'm going to get their endorsement, but but they were interviewing me about it. And I told them I was just like, you know, I've been a fighter my whole life. I've learned from my mom. She was the best teacher I could have ever seen. And at the end of the day, I believe I'm the person for the job because of my experiences, because I've been in real life experiences where I've managed teams, led operations, but also seen how hard my mom fought for me and my brother because she loved us. And I love Las Vegas and I love Clark County. And I'm like, once we love something, we're going to fight as hard as we can for it.
I love it. You answered my question I was going to ask. That's a good to the voters out there. I appreciate that. That's good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you have anything else you'd like to let the voters know before we wrap up and let everybody know where they can find you on social media or if you can donate to your campaign or help in some way, like knock on some doors, put some signs out there and stuff?
Of course. Yes, you can go on Steven Borella for ClarkCountyRecorder.com. That's where you'll be able to donate. You'll be able to sign up to volunteer as well. But also, if you want to follow me on Facebook, it's also Steven Borella for Clark County Recorder, as well as my Instagram is Steven Borella for Recorder.
Nice. And go on.
Oh, I was going to say, and I just want to say thank you again for having me. Thank you for anybody watching. I really would love your vote. I'm going to fight hard for Clark County, just like I've fought my whole life. No excuses. That's the Libertarian way. And I really do appreciate you having me on, man. Thank you.
Just like I say to all the people running for office, I appreciate the fact that you put yourself out there and do it, because more libertarians need to do it. You know, we sit around and talk a big game, but we need more libertarians out there actually walking the walk and getting out there and doing it. You know, it takes a lot of courage to get out there and put yourself out there politically, because let's face it, the machine is vicious. And you know, when we start doing good, man, they come after us, you know, and you know, it's not always easy. You know, they don't make it easy on us financially. They don't make it easy on us. You know, libertarians, we're not getting paid for any of this work we're doing. You know, as opposed to Democrats and Republicans, they have all that money flowing in. They got government money even flowing in, and they're getting paid for what they do. We're all doing it because we care. And that's it. We're not doing it for corporations. We're not doing it this and that. We do it because we care and we actually believe in what we say.
That's right. That's right.
And like I said, I really appreciate you running. So I reached out to you and all the other candidates, in Nevada or wherever you're listening to this, reach out to me. I'm blind. It's hard for me to find you. When I see people, I always hit them up, so, when I run into people, I do, but if, people don't be shy, hit me up. We'll get you on the podcast. That's why it's here. To get
I'm going to give them your number. I'm going to give them your number, man. I'm going to send them your way.
Yeah. So, well, again, as it gets closer to the election or something, because this is for the primary, right? The original, or are you automatically on? Because here in California, we have the top two. So, we have Democrat versus Democrats sometimes. So, Libertarians, we only get to play in the little leagues here, unless there's somebody running unopposed. We don't get to play on the big ticket here because Democrats and Republicans have rigged it that way. Is it like that in Nevada?
Oh no, I'm automatically in the general election. Right now, they're going to do. The Republicans and Democrats are having their primaries right now. That's going to end, I believe, June 9th. I do want to say it's June 9th, and that's when I'll officially know who my official opponents are. Like I know the guys and the guys and gals in the primaries, but now I'll get to see who I'm actually going up against.
All right. Well, like I said, open invitation. If anything comes up there and you want to get back on the podcast, don't wait for me to reach out to you. Feel free to reach out and we'll get you back on.
I will.
Elected.
I will. I'll definitely come on closer to election time, just so we can get the message out again. And thank you again, man. I really appreciate you having me.
My pleasure. And thanks to everybody for listening to Liberty Blues Network today. Make sure to follow us on Facebook. You can follow me on X at Mad Sean Osborne. You can listen to my latest album wherever you stream music. It's called Free People. Think of Woody Guthrie minus the communism, traditional American folk style music. There's also a group on Spotify called Libertarian. I would highly recommend people listen to that and help libertarian musicians get some good algorithm stuff going on. Pick out a couple people you like out of there. There's all kinds of different styles of music. It's not all political. There's also libertarians who make art. They're a really good group, and they have a lot of like novelists and filmmakers and stuff. And they have a a monthly or periodically released magazine or online magazine or something, so you can hear from different libertarians who make art, of different sorts, and help support liberty minded content. And we really appreciate if you check those out. So, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Liberty Blues.